Hello and welcome to Arirang News. It's the first day of October here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I'm Laah Hyun-kyung. The stories making headlines at this hour. With today marking Korea's 66th Armed Forces Day, President Park Geun-hye calls on the military to strengthen its defenses against North Korea. Legislators finally begin reviewing and passing dozens of pending bills after a months-long political impasse. The parliament is back in session, but controversy still looms. And the pro-democracy movement takes over Hong Kong. The size of the demonstration is expected to swell as today marks China's National Day holiday. And our top story this afternoon, with today marking the 66th Armed Forces Day here in Korea, President Park Geun-hye says thank you to the nation's soldiers. At a commemoration ceremony this morning, she also called on the military to turn a new page and become a stronger force. Our Son Jung-in starts us off.
South Korea staged a massive ceremony on Wednesday to honor the military on its 66th Armed Forces Day. At the military headquarters in Daejeon, President Park Geun-hye started her speech by describing the current security situation on the Korean peninsula. She said the North had been raising tensions in the region while pursuing the development of its nuclear weapon and missile programs. She then urged Pyongyang to join Seoul's efforts to build trust and lay the groundwork for the potential unification of the divided Korean peninsula.
북한은 핵이 남북관계 발전에 가장 큰 걸림돌임을 직시하고 하루속히 핵을 포기하고 국제사회에 책임 있는 일원이 되어야 합니다.
President Park also said the North's human rights violations should be addressed, an issue she placed emphasis on recently at the UN General Assembly. She added that this must start with South Korea's military, which should lead as a role model of human rights. She also urged the military to look inward, referring to a series of deaths blamed on bullying, harassment, and assaults of junior enlisted soldiers by their seniors in barracks.
이제 우리 군은 과거의 잘못된 관행과 적폐를 바로잡아서 새로운 정의의 강군으로 거듭나야 합니다.
President Park stressed that love and trust of the people is important for making a strong military and promised to do her utmost to improve the welfare of soldiers and their service environment. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
Washington says a U.S.-designed missile defense system known as the THAAD system may be located in South Korea, but that idea conflicts with what Seoul's military has been saying, leaving the two allies at odds. Connie Kim reports.
A top U.S. defense official has confirmed Washington is mulling over plans to deploy a Terminal High Altitude Area Defense, or THAAD, missile defense battery to a location in the south. Speaking at a forum organized by the Council on Foreign Relations on U.S. Policy in Asia, Deputy Secretary of Defense Robert Work said Washington and Seoul are discussing the option to deter any North Korean nuclear provocations.
We are considering very carefully whether or not to put a THAAD in South Korea. We're doing site surveys. We're working with the government of South Korea now to determine if that is the right thing to do.
The so-called THAAD system is a key part of the U.S. missile defense system that can strike down medium and intermediate-range ballistic missiles in midair. The U.S. official underscored that the deployment, while complicated to set up, will become an important part of regional defense. He also noted that Washington is well aware of the possible backlash involved in deploying the system in South Korea.
We've emphasized to both China and to Russia that these are not strategic anti-ballistic missiles, that they essentially they're essentially designed to address regional threats.
The comments out of Washington are slightly at odds with what South Korea has been saying on the issue. Seoul's National Security Office said last month that there were no agreements in place on bringing in the U.S. system. The potential deployment has some worried in Seoul that the move could be Washington's attempt to get other Asian allies to join its missile defense system. South Korea's defense ministry has previously said it's developing its own low-altitude missile defenses that can intercept North Korean missiles. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
The top U.S. envoy on North Korea policy, Glenn Davies, was in Seoul on Tuesday. After talking with his South Korean counterpart, he talked about what North Korea's biggest problem was. Hwang Sung-hee explains.
U.S. Special Representative for North Korea Policy Glenn Davies says the biggest problem with North Korea is that it's not listening.
North Korea is not talking to any of us. It's not listening to any of us. And this is, I think, not the way to resolve the problems that we all face, including North Korea.
Visiting Seoul on a three-nation Northeast Asia trip on Tuesday, Davies met with his South Korean counterpart Hwang Jung-guk and Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se on ways to re-engage North Korea. The U.S. diplomat said Pyongyang has also turned a deaf ear to Washington's request to release 3 American detainees.
We've sought to engage them. We've sought to dispatch senior officials to Pyongyang to talk to them. North Korea has chosen to reject our offers. I think that's a shame. That's a lost opportunity.
While the refusal to talk greatly contradicts North Korea's recent show of enthusiasm for diplomacy, Davies said North Korean Foreign Minister Lee Soo-yong's UN speech shows that nothing has changed.
I think it was, as we say in English, old wine in new bottles. There wasn't much different about it.
It's a valid point, considering North Korea has threatened the world with rocket launches no fewer than 19 times already this year. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Over in Hong Kong, protest leaders there say they are expecting record number of supporters to come out to the city today as it marks the beginning of China's National Day holiday. Both the government and activists brace for a showdown. Our Kim Min-ji has the details.
Pro-democracy demonstrations are expected to swell in size on Wednesday with the start of the National Day, which marks the founding of Communist China in 1949. Tens of thousands of people braved heavy rain and thunder overnight to continue what has been dubbed the Umbrella Revolution, an act of civil disobedience that authorities have called illegal. Hong Kong's chief executive rejected calls by student leaders to address the crowd, which he said must be immediately dismantled.
The central government won't be swayed by illegal activities. This illegal protest will not force the central government to go back on its decision on August 31st.
The Hong Kong government attended a ceremony marking the National Day on Wednesday as thousands of protesters shouted for democracy. Demonstrators are demanding 2 things. They want Leung to step down as chief executive, and they want universal suffrage in Hong Kong's 2017 elections, with Beijing abandoning plans to vet candidates for the post of chief executive. If their demands aren't met, they are considering expanding their occupation of city streets.
If a country does things that are right and its people are convinced, naturally people will come out and celebrate with it on the country's birthday. But now this is not the case. Even though it's National Day, many people are standing up and telling this government, we are not satisfied with you.
Some have voiced concerns that the protest could become a second Tiananmen massacre.
Beijing has a final say in everything in Hong Kong, and Beijing has a record of crackdown on peaceful demonstration with violence. So given China's record, we have no trust at all. And I think the worst thing that would happen is a second Tiananmen massacre.
The large-scale demonstrations which began over the weekend are the worst since China resumed control of Hong Kong from Britain in 1997. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
In the year 2012 for Korea was at its record high.
All of the day's important events close to home and around the world. Join Laah Hyun-kyung live from Seoul.
Shopping market thinks the true meaning of creation shines through. Lawmakers here in Korea finally broke the months-long parliamentary gridlock on Tuesday night after striking a deal on the contentious bill that will set up specifics of an investigation into April's ferry disaster. Bills are being reviewed today as well, but our National Assembly correspondent Kim Young-gil says the regular session still has a very long way to go.
The National Assembly, after being gridlocked for months over a bill designed to investigate the causes of April's ferry disaster, is back in business. Their first act on Tuesday night after reaching an agreement on the special legislation was to pass 91 bills. Lawmakers from the rival parties returned on Wednesday morning to open sessions of parliamentary standing committees and began reviewing hundreds of pending bills. Over the next month, they will conduct parliamentary audits of government offices, pass series of anti-corruption bills, and finally push through the one piece of legislation that has kept the rival parties at odds since the spring, the Seoul Ferry Bill. Tuesday's agreement ends the standoff at Parliament, but not the controversy. The representatives for the families of Danon High School students killed in the April ferry tragedy have voiced their strong opposition to the deal reached by the ruling and opposition parties. It's essentially the same agreement made on August 19th, although the rival party floor leaders agreed to add another clause. That clause states that both rival parties will jointly recommend 4 independent counsel candidates to President Park Geun-hye, who will choose one of them to lead the fact-finding committee in charge of investigating the ferry disaster. The option of allowing the victims' families to participate in the process will be discussed later on. The victims' families have been firm in saying they want more power in the nominating process. While the National Assembly is back at work, the actions of the lawmakers over the coming weeks and their ability to move beyond their differences over recent months will determine whether parliamentary affairs truly are normalized. 김영길, Arirang News.
A new tech giant in Korea's internet service industry has officially been created. With today's official merger, messaging service provider Kakao and net portal Daum zero in on Naver, the #1 market player. Our Hwang Ji-hye reports.
It's official. Daum Kakao, born through the merger of Korean internet portal operator Daum Communications Corporation and messaging application firm KakaoTalk, launched business on Wednesday. The merger will create the biggest company on the country's tech-heavy KOSDAQ once it's listed in mid-October. Market watchers expect the entity's market cap to reach 10 trillion won, or roughly $9.5 billion, with that of Daum already hovering around $2 billion. That easily surpasses current #1 Celltrion on the secondary bourse, whose market cap stands at around $4.5 billion. Daum and Kakao have been preparing to launch a united entity since May this year when they announced their merger. Kakao has been diversifying its business portfolio, introducing services like Bank Wallet Kakao, a mobile platform that provides small-sum financial transactions and mobile payments. Daum has been focusing on its role as a search engine, launching specialized services for better search results. Analysts say Daum Kakao may eventually seek a listing on the country's main bourse after serving out its minimum requirement of 3 years on the KOSDAQ. And Daum Kakao has made clear the merger will mark the start of its full-fledged efforts to emerge as a global communications, information, and life platform provider. It also signals a shift in Korea's internet portal dynamics, currently led by the country's top portal operator, Naver. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Korea's consumer prices grew at their slowest pace in 7 months in September, continuing a downward trend that dates back to June. Statistics Korea says the consumer price index rose 1.1% last month compared to the previous year. The agency attributes the slowdown to stable oil prices and a drop in prices of manufactured goods, especially electronic devices. The 1% range inflation rate has continued for the 23rd month now, which is well below the central bank's target range of 2.5% to 3.5%. The Japanese yen has hit a 6-year low during Wednesday trading, breaking the psychologically important 110 per dollar mark. Following signs of a gradual economic recovery in the U.S. and expectations of more monetary easing from the Bank of Japan, the yen was trading at 110.07 against the greenback. That's the lowest level since August 2008. The Nihon Keizai Shimbun says investors are selling the yen and buying the dollar on expectations that the interest rate gap between the U.S. and Japan will widen. Roughly 500 million Chinese people are expected to travel in and out of the nation during their Golden Week, the National Day holiday, which starts today. And the number of those traveling to Korea is on the rise as well. Our Kwon So-ah has this next story.
Flights have been overbooked and hotels fully reserved by the many Chinese tourists who have chosen to enjoy their National Day holiday this year in Korea. Around 160,000 Chinese visitors are expected to visit the country during the Golden Week from October 1st to the 7th, which is around 35% more compared to the same period last year. Some come to experience the Hallyu or Korean wave, the local scenery, the food, and to shop. In fact, most of their vacation expenditures goes to shopping.
I shop a lot in Korea. I especially buy a lot of makeup. It's cheaper and using it makes my skin look very natural.
But after the shopping sprees, the question is, would they come again?
Not that many products have been developed that could increase consumption in the cultural field. Chinese tourists are interested in K-pop, but what they are mainly able to do is just buy CDs or T-shirts with their favorite stars.
But if you take a look around, efforts are being made to offer Chinese tourists more. Just in time with the holiday and the Incheon Asian Games, Incheon's Chinatown aims to shift the attention of Chinese tourists away from shopping malls toward other attractions. The Incheon China Culture and Tourism Festival, for example, will open this week under the theme of Korea-China Cultural Exchange, attempting to attract visitors with traditional performances and discounts for events, shops, and restaurants.
Chinatown may seem like an unlikely destination for Chinese tourists, but they are interested in seeing how their people live in Korea. So we're working with travel agencies to attract visitors with special programs, along with the Asian Games.
And with nearly 900 Chinese athletes to cheer for, this year's holiday will be even more special, with cultural festivals taking place outside stadiums. But experts say the tourism industry should be looking ahead for future attractions to bring visitors back in the coming years. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
This year marks the 450th anniversary of William Shakespeare's birth, and to mark that occasion, a special adaptation of Romeo and Juliet will hit the stage here in Korea. Our Park Ji-won got a sneak preview. Take a look.
The Korea National Opera presents the most famous love story of all time, Romeo and Juliet. French composer Charles Gounod wrote the opera version of this tragic yet beautiful story of love, fate, and death. It took him 28 years to complete and premiered in 1867. To mark the 450th anniversary of Shakespeare's birth, the 5-act opera version of his play will take the stage, featuring an international cast along with Australian opera director Elijah Mushinsky, stage designer Richard Hudson, and conductor Julian Kovachev.
Italy, I feel Verona as my home city. I'm so happy to share these wonderful feelings with the Korean public, with the Korean National Opera organization, because it's difficult to put out all these feelings what the composer put in, which is a special color, which is French.
World-renowned Italian tenor Francesco De Muro, Russian soprano Irina Lungu, and Korean opera singers are preparing to put on an intense and emotional performance. The opera will be staged for 4 days from this Thursday to Sunday and will run again during the Daegu International Opera Festival next week. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
On to our next culture item. There are a great number of festivals going on around the country all year long, but this time of the year, there's always one festival dedicated to the arts that many look forward to, and that's according to our Hyun-hye, who joins us in the studio. So Hyun-hye,
Yes.
do explain.
Yes, so this festival is one of my favorites, and it's one of the favorites for many people because it's very unique. So first of all, Goyang recently marked, it's the 10th city to reach a population of 1 million people here in Korea. And so going on that theme, they opened the Goyang Lake Park Arts Festival, and this year they're boasting an even better and even more exciting festival than ever before. So take a look. Every year, the city of Goyang becomes a bustling center of beautiful works of art, and today's revolutionizing culture. The annual Goyang Lake Park Arts Festival draws in all different kinds of artists from countries around the world. Some are amateur artists, brand new to their field, while some are world-traveling class acts, setting their stage against the shores of the beautiful landmark lake.
This year's festival includes 70 artists and 170 different performances. We host this event every year at the lake park in Goyang, but this year we've decided to really take advantage of the unique setting. So we've prepared performances that make full use of this park.
Everyone included is given a space around the beautiful lake, some artists even taking to the actual waters of the lake. The Belgium dance company Studio Eclipse creates a watery ballet-like dance. The only thing separating the surface from the submerged world is a frail wooden platform. Another highlight performance comes from both Spain and Argentina, but this group takes to the air. It's a whimsical blend of acrobatics, music, and lights for a stunning one-of-a-kind show that Grupo Puja has shown to audiences around the world. Over 36 meters hoisted into the air, their newest performance, Cosmos, pays tribute to science, images of molecules, as well as cosmic realms, reflected through each of their movements.
The Cosmos is a synchronized acrobatic performance in the air. It's done to rock and opera music so that when we need to change the rhythm, we can do so with music. It's a very lively and active performance. When we are in the sky, we actually come down to the ground as well and get very close to the audience, inviting them to really experience the performance.
Not all performances go to such extreme measures. Some rely on the simplicity of it all, in the end producing an artistic creation for the many visitors to enjoy. Regardless the artist or work, the Ilsan Lake is an exclusive stage for some of Korea's most creative minds.
So it certainly has a lot to offer indeed. Right. And that aerial performance from Spain, I remember, if I remember correctly, last year there was another performance from coming from Spain as well.
So last year they brought this Running of the Bulls parade, inflatable parade last year from Spain, but the festival itself has done many collaborations with different performance groups from Spain. It just happens that they are huge hits here in Korea. So with this performance you saw Cosmos, you saw a little bit of sneak preview of in the report. This performance takes place on the 4th and the 5th at 8 p.m. And so I highly recommend this particular performance. Like you saw, it's very interesting, very exciting, and it really does draw you in. It's a very one-of-a-kind type of performance.
Right. So the festival will run through Sunday. So what else is in store for the people who want to go and take part in the festival?
So pretty much all of the performances take place outdoors, and that is key here. They really do choose this time of the year because they want people to really enjoy the last of the good weather before it starts to get really cold.
Right.
And so if you're going to head out there, make sure you take a jacket because it gets a little chilly at night, but definitely all these performances, like you saw, are very unique and really make use of the atmosphere and the environment that it takes place in. And so you can expect some very interesting performances if you head out there.
Okay, so one extra thing that we can do over the weekend. Thank you very much, Yuni, for today's report.
You're very welcome.
The typical autumn weather will continue today with a fair amount of sun and clouds across the nation. And unlike chilly morning, daytime highs in most areas will be similar to yesterday, as the highs in the capital, Daegu and Busan, will rise to 24, while Gwangju will make to 25 this afternoon. And for other regions, Jeju Island and Daejeon will see highs of 23 and 24, while Dokdo peaks at 18. Now over in Incheon, they also had a chilly morning, but it will be mild afternoon with a high of 23 under mostly to partly sunny skies. And it seems like we need to get ready for chillier weather. It will be cooler tomorrow with showers expected here in the capital and the surrounding areas. Light precipitation of up to 5 millimeters is expected, so it shouldn't rain that much. But the clouds and rain will bring the temperatures down to low 20s in Seoul. So be sure to dress warmer tomorrow. That's all for me today, and back to Hyun-kyung in the studio.
All right, thank you, Ji-hyun, for that. That brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more updates at 4 p.m. Korea time.